Welcome to another episode of As the Kayak Rolls. This is just a pool session. There'll be a few things that I can offer some feedback on, but I just wanted to capture the overall fun and kind of chaotic conditions that go on in a pool full of sea kayaks. Let's back this up here. We're seeing Zen here working. Zen did it exactly right. He purchased as many sessions with us as he could fit into his busy schedule. And because of that, he went from zero roll to rolling during one winter pool season. You're going to see several examples of Zen today. This particular example, I'm going to put on slow-mo. What I really like about this example is this hand. He's keeping it as close to his chest and shoulder as possible in that high brace or T-Rex position. And he comes up beautifully with pretty much zero struggle. We're going to slow-mo again. And here is something that many new rollers experience. You may have experienced this yourself. You find the back blade of the paddle, the one that's towards the stern, getting trapped underneath your deck while you're rolling. And you wonder, why is this happening? And Zen is going to clearly demonstrate for us why this is happening. This. His hand is not at his shoulder. It's actually floated down towards his waist. He's given us this extremely fine example. Thank you, Zen. And because of that, you can see that he is struggling to get up. His body is curved up. He's lifting his head, but because he has a skinny stick and he follows all the way through, he actually goes ahead and comes up without any assistance from myself or Rob. Listen to what he says next. In case you missed that, he says, I came up too fast. He correctly self-diagnosed that he didn't take the time to get completely into setup. That instead he did do a 360. He went in on the left side, or I should say his right side, and he came up on his left side. But because he didn't pause, he never got fully in that T-Rex or high brace position. As an aside, Zen, because he spent the whole winter with us, he will have his own video, which I am working on. And I would encourage you to watch Zen's progression from non-roller to roller. He has made a very impressive effort. Here we see Maxine. Maxine is not in her normal boat. We have put her in a Pilgrim Expedition. She also played around in our petrol low volume demo. And we were just giving her the opportunity to experience some different boats and see how they would feel differently while rolling. She, like Zen, booked as many lessons as she possibly could during the year. And again, there is some really good reasons to do that. Now, we're gonna, again, Maxine too has her own progression video in the works. But here I want to demonstrate to you, because she's provided us with this great example. of how she never fully gets in setup. If she were in setup, she would have actually had her paddle here against the side of the boat. So it would be, parallel to the boat. But she didn't. Instead, she starts her sweep here. So she's not where she should be, which is here. And that's a common beginner experience, but it is a really good example that I want you to pay attention to. In spite of that, she comes up. She comes up for two very good reasons. One, she finishes all the way. She goes all the way around. And then the second thing she does, which is fabulous, is she stays in that high brace position. So she's got those two things going for her. And if I go forward a little more, I want you to notice how she keeps her head back. So her head is back. Her hands are in the right position. Even though her paddle is diving, she's still going to achieve this roll with no help. You notice Rob is back there clapping. Now I'm moving the tripod and camera to the center. For the last 55 minutes of our session, I put one of the two cameras over the pool so I could try to catch as much action as possible. So Maxine has now decided she wants to try 360. We just watched Zen do a couple of 360s, and she's hot on his heels. She wants to keep up with Zen, so she's going to do it too. Now she goes in on her left side, and she's supposed to come up on her right side, but you're going to see something funny happen here that's so common. Been there, done this. She nearly takes me out with her stick. And actually, although you can't see it, I put my hand down and caught the end of the blade before it took my tripod out. She let go of her blade and went to the back deck. This is something that we teach our students early in their roll sessions with us. So if all else has failed and it's time for them to let us help them, we want them to go to the back deck as she's done and illustrated brilliantly. She's on the back deck. Her being on the back deck makes it super easy for Rob to lift her up. She's laughing as she comes up because she is having fun. If we're not having fun, why are we doing this? Here we're going to see some silly boat tricks. We've now descended into silly boat tricks. And our friend Tim here, who has been working with us, rolling with us, and paddling with us. He's one of our main paddle buddies for the last, probably 4 or 5 years. And he's going to do a split paddle roll. I want to point out something here that's really, really good. See that? See this? This. That. The fact that his paddle is up and out of the water means he knows that he has found the top of the water. And he's going to pat the water. Ah, I'm on the water, he says. I know I'm on the water. He starts with a sweep, and then he's going to have to push down on the blade. So kind of a sweep to sea, screw roll. I'm sure there's a specific name for this split paddle roll. But without the sweep followed by that distinct C hip snap, I don't think you can come up with this little paddle. Or at least I can't come up. Maybe you can. Hey, send me your video if you can come up on a split paddle roll with just a sweep without a hip snap, head dink, whatever you want to call that. I would love to see a video like that. Send it to me if you've got one. Okay. Tim here did us a real favor by showing us what happens when you lift your head. So you notice his body is curving away, his head's coming up. That's because his crocodile brain's telling him he's going to die. Don't listen to your crocodile brain. Oh, he tries so hard, and back in he goes. Now, because Tim is an experienced roller, he sets up again. And if I just go backwards here a second, even though he doesn't as dramatically pull his paddle out of the water, he does in fact pop it out of the water and pat the water. This time, his head is not reaching up as much, and he completes that beautifully. I don't know if you can hear that, but he asks me if it counts as an alternative self-rescue. And I say, yeah, I'll count that. Now he's going to do a re-enter and roll with his split paddle. He's a rock star. Ah, did you see that? So let me roll this back a little bit. See how he does, in fact, lift his head on this? And his head is kind of going up. And his paddle is definitely diving. So it's questionable that he's going to make it. This is a common thing people do when they think they might not be going to make it. They throw their off-water hand over to the other side. And in this case, bingo, he makes it. Good effort. Now Rob has taken the low volume petrol and he's going to play with it while we see some other people here. You can see Zen is over here working. Maxine is over there working. I'm just standing there, being safety, doing my thing, answering questions. Now Deke has decided to take the petrol. That's what we bring these things in for. We bring toys for people to try. It helps them decide if they might want to buy a boat. Both this Pilgrim Expedition here is for sale. It is used, but it is 50-50. It weighs 44 pounds without its hatch covers. It's impressively light. It is an experienced lady with a couple of gel coat repairs. Absolutely rock solid boat. Somebody is going to be thrilled to get that. This petrol right here is the tools. There we go. This petrol is the low volume version. So it's about an inch cut down over the other one that we have. And this was our second day playing with it, our first day in the pool, and a number of people rolled it, which made us really happy. You see Tony here jumps in and photo bombs Deke's roll. So let's go back. I want you to notice this. Tony has been working with me for 2 years. He is just an impressive roller. He's got this crazy NC-17 boat that's quite tricky, and because it is not the easiest boat on earth to roll, He has become an extremely good roller, and I've put him in a lot of different boats, and he's been able to roll them. But the one thing I wanted to point out here is how he is patting the water. He's got his blade out of the water. He makes sure it's out of the water before he starts his roll. Meantime, you're seeing a good example of Deke's roll. Deke is the guy in the petrel. Deke does a lever roll. He only has one roll, and it is a roll on his right-hand side, and it always looks the same. It's an extended, so it's a Pilata. He doesn't put his hands in the high brace position. He always holds them very low, and the blade is always very deep in the water. He's got a reliable roll, so he's not asking for any help, and I'm not bothering him. But man, I love watching Tony come up. I play that again. I love that. Good job, Tony. Tony does something else for us here. Let's play this through. He's sculling, and he decides that the skull is gotten too deep. The blade has gotten too deep in the water. So he sculls a bit, back and forth, and then he snaps up in kind of a high brace. The next time I see him, I'm going to show him this video and show him his hand and this hand, and I'm going to see. Now, he may be tired. I bet you this was his 50th roll of the session, so maybe I shouldn't be busting his chops. But I would like to see him have his hands in a little tighter. Oh, here, I'm going to throw Rob back in the water. Wonder if I can blow this up a little bit. So we call this a choke roll. So it's not a true Pilata. Hand's not on the end of the blade. His hand is here on the throat of the blade, which is why I call it a choke roll. You'll see as he finishes, he immediately goes into a brace. Here I'm going to throw Richard back in the water. Very nice layback roll. Again, another person who, doing a choke roll, his hand's on the throat of the blade. The other hand should be on the ferrule. That's the connection between the two halves of your shaft. So he does that well. But again, in the future, if I have a chance, I may mention to him that I would like to see this arm in a little bit more, just to protect his shoulder. However, I will point out that his elbow is below his shoulder, very below his shoulder, as is his hand. He hasn't injured himself. He's very happy with his role, and actually, he's done really well. Hey, what's this dude doing over here? Well, this is Rob messing around in what we call silly boat tricks. This is what the pool is really good for. Yeah, it's good to work on your roll, but it's really good for playing with things that you wouldn't normally do in the ocean or even in the Potomac where you don't necessarily want to fall in and get a big nose full of nasty river water. Other thing I want to point out about this boat is the overall stability of this Petrel. We were both really surprised by how stable it is. So let me pause it here and go back a little bit. I'll take it off of slow mo. Yeah. This particular maneuver, I'm gonna have to try that because I'm pretty sure that that's a fall out of your boat maneuver right there. Good job, Rob. Somebody teased me for talking to this lady here. Was asking me about boats that I have for sale, and they said, "Oh, we didn't want to interrupt you while you were talking about selling a boat." And yeah, I'll always talk boat sales with anybody who's interested. But we were pretty much done working with our students, and everybody was practicing by then. Here you see Tim working on his cowboy. Ooh, what do we have here? Let's go back. This is another example of Deke's lever roll. Always looks the same. Always looks the same. Let's go back. It's amazing. It's because he keeps his hands down and he doesn't let his arms slide in front of him. He's never hurt himself. He's got a roll. Here's Zen was working on sculling, and I don't know if you could hear that back there, but there was a moment where the blade clicks off the bottom of the pool. And Zen realizes, okay, I've gone too deep. It's time to come up. So look what he does here. He does so many things right. Blade is parallel with the boat. Hand here, hand here. He's describing a big old arc. A little trouble with this tool here. All right, let's see if that works. Yeah, that worked. So see if we can make this smaller, drag it down. No. Love this hand. This hand is getting out there a little bit. But again, he's coming up. He's not arching his body away. He's keeping his body um, pretty level, and his head is looking up. Oh, oh my gosh, that's my scary laughter in the background. Who knew? Here, let's throw him back in the water and watch this on real time. That's my wicked cackle in the background. I always laugh. I think it's wonderful when our students start just coming up by themselves. He's in the deep end with me. He doesn't have any safety. He knows he can pop and swim if he has to, but there's no safety net there, and he just went ahead and rolled. Earlier, I showed you how he got his paddle trapped, his blade trapped underneath the deck of the boat. You'll notice here that he's got his hand close to his chest, and there is plenty of room for the end of the blade, and it is away from the boat. It's not on the boat at all. And now we come to the end of our extremely long video. If you managed to stick it out through all 27 minutes, I'm impressed. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. And if you have any good videos of yourself rolling, I would love to see them. And I would be happy to review them if you have the rights to let me use them. Thanks, and have a good evening, folks.